What's up guys, I'm CandidCrandell and today I'm going to be talking about Pretty Little Liars Season 5 Episode 8, Scream for Me. You know the drill. If you haven't seen the episode yet and you don't want me to spoil anything for you, pause this video right now and come back later. The episode opens with the girls in chorus class singing What Child Is This? Curious if the Christmas song was foreshadowing towards the Christmas episode. Drunk Hannah wants absolutely nothing to do with the singing, or maybe it's hungover Hannah, I'm not sure which one. Lieutenant Tanner is at the school and questioning Allie. She pulls her out of chorus class. I feel like it's definitely a strategic move on Tanner's part to be like, see, I can come in here and I can ask questions and you're next. Tanner wants to know if Allie has communicated with Shauna at all recently, and Allie's like, I haven't spoken to anyone since before, I know, since before you were kidnapped. Like, Lieutenant Tanner is not having any of Allison's story and wants to know why Shauna would have moved to Rosewood if she thought that Allison was already deceased. Allie says that she can't answer that for Lieutenant Tanner. Neither can Shauna, who is actually deceased. I sense a little attitude there on Tanner's part. Girl, you pretended to be dead and you're not, so excuse me if I don't have a great deal of sympathy for you. Allie says to Lieutenant Tanner that she thought this conversation was going to be about her mom. She asks if she's the only one that thinks that this psycho who took her had something to do with killing her mom because she got away from him. Lieutenant Tanner responds, the police have a lot of theories. The police have a lot of theories? That does not bode well for Allison. Aria is winning the most intelligent liar of this episode. Can you sense my sarcasm? She is at school with the leopard print purse that Lieutenant Tanner saw in Ezra's apartment. These girls do not repeat outfits or use the same accessories, but Aria just happens to bring that one. There is no way that Lieutenant Tanner is not gonna recognize that. She already has an eye for shoes. It would not surprise me if she had an eye for bags too. Allie looks at her sheet music and notices that all of the A's have been circled. So that means that A is someone who knows how to read sheet music. There's also a message for Allie on the last page. Glad to hear you singing. Last time you were all choked up, A. Big question is, how did A get a hold of Allie's sheet music when she says that she's had her purse with her all day? She left her sheet music on the music stand when she went out to talk to Lieutenant Tanner, so when was it switched and by who? Hannah is at her locker and a freaking beer can falls out. Ugh. Drunk Hannah, get it together, girl. You're sassy and I love your sense of humor, but you can't have beer cans in your high school locker. I don't know what kind of school Rosewood High is, but the high school that I went to, if someone had a beer can falling out of their locker, there would have been like an administrator on that like immediately. Hannah says that she left Aria a message to apologize, and Spencer and Emily are like, yeah, I think you're gonna have to say it to her. Apparently Hannah sounded like she was underwater and Caleb was laughing in the background. Hannah says it's because Caleb was watching a YouTube video of a man eating his own beard, but maybe she should have gone into like another room to make that apology phone call. I'm just having a hard time understanding why the girls are so quick to believe A when this whole time A has done nothing but try to ruin their friendship and pit them against one another, and I'm unsure as to why they're just falling into this A trap so easily. It kind of frustrates me a little bit. Aria leaves Ezra a message to tell him that Lieutenant Tanner was at the school asking questions and to ask him if he's heard from Eddie Lamb. While Aria is leaving the message, her mom walks up. Yay, Ella's back in Rosewood. Ella asks Aria what she's doing outside of the school, and Aria's like, oh, I was leaving a message for Dad. I think I left a book in his car. Lying. Ella asks Aria if she'll be her maid of honor. Oh, that's so sweet. Aria agrees, obviously, and Ella's like, okay, well, I set us up this appointment at the bridal shop this afternoon, and Aria's like, whoa, 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 I gotta go to Radley. Ella says, can't you get one of the other volunteers to cover for you? Aria obviously doesn't want to do that because she needs to get back in there to return Rhonda's sketchbook. So instead, she just goes inside and is like, we'll figure this out later, and doesn't give Ella a straight answer. Not doing so great on the maid of honor duties thus far, Aria. Emily goes into the locker room to talk to Sydney. She thanks her for sitting with Hannah. I heard that she was like really out of it, really drunk. And Sydney says that Hannah seemed okay to her. Emily goes on to say, yeah, well, I mean, Hannah's like Amish. She takes like 2 sips and then she's just like wasted. She'll tell people that her grandfather invented the paperclip, all kinds of crazy things. I mean, she even called me and was like, oh, we need to go back to New York, and we've never been to New York together. Sydney says that Hannah never mentioned New York when they were talking. That's sketchy to me because Hannah clearly mentioned New York to her. Maybe Sydney did have something to do with that A text. Why else would she lie about it? Sydney spills the beans to Emily that she was voted to be the assistant coach of the swim team, and Emily's really taken aback. Sydney seems a little upset and is like, oh, my bad, I thought you would want this. It seems like getting Emily to be the assistant coach probably has some ulterior motives on Sydney's part. I don't know, like maybe trying to distract her. I think that Caleb and drunk Hannah need an intervention stat. Hannah calls Caleb and he's clearly just waking up and it's like the middle of the day. He's hungover, obviously. These two are not doing good stuff for each other. Caleb used to be the type of person that was able to get Hannah on track and help her when she was spiraling, and instead they're spiraling together right now. I understand that both of them are going through some tough times, but not really the answer, and it's clearly having a negative impact on their day-to-day life already. Hannah apologizes to Allie about how she acted at Emily's mom's house, and Allie forgives her and says that they were all under a lot of stress. Allie tells Hannah that her dad is going out of town for work for a couple days and that he wants her to go with him. Hannah asks if A is going to let her do that, and Allie says never. Allie also says that she can't stay home alone, and she asks Hannah if she can stay with her for a few days. Hannah seems a little taken aback by this, seeing as how she's not Allie's biggest fan. Even though they had that little apology conversation, Hannah's still mad at Allie. Hannah says that she'll have to ask her mom because she's got a lot of stuff going on, and Allie doesn't seem to like that answer very much. Spencer, in her infinite wisdom, has decided to show Toby the sketches that Bethany Young did of his mother falling off of Bradley. Spencer, I'm gonna need you to at least try to have some empathy for Toby in this situation. I get that your parents might be separating, but his mom was pushed off a roof of a mental hospital. And then his house just exploded. So Toby says that he can't put all this behind him till it's over, and it's not, but that it might be soon once he starts asking questions from the inside. It turns out that Toby has enrolled in the Harrisburg Police Academy. He's going to be a cop. Spencer can laugh all she wants. I actually think that this is a fantastic idea. I think it's pretty clear by this point that someone from the A team has got to be working with the police in some way. There have been too many mistakes for there not to be some level of corruption going on there. So having Toby inside might be one of the best things that could happen. We need to get someone in there. Toby points out to Spencer that the Rosewood PD is either bungling or corrupt. Toby clearly gets it, and honestly, if anyone was going to become a cop, I could really see it being Toby. I mean, his detective work has been pretty spot on. Aria goes back to Radley and says that she's looking for Eddie Lamb. One of the nurses tells her that Eddie's last day was yesterday, and she doesn't know where he is or if he got another job or anything like that. Totally sketchy, because Eddie didn't mention that it was his last day to Aria at all. Then again, why would he have? But seems a little weird that after all this information comes out, he just up and leaves. I'm not sure if Eddie Lamb is on the run and hiding somewhere, like I sincerely hope that he is, or if he's buried in someone's backyard as well at this point. Maybe he's buried in Toby's backyard. Side note, how many people have had bodies in their backyards at this point? The De Laurentiis house had Bethany. The Hastings house had Mrs. De Laurentiis. Maya showed up in Emily's backyard. Too many bodies in backyards. It's a lot. Aria sneaks into Rhonda's room to put Bethany's sketchbook back underneath her mattress, and Rhonda catches her. Ah! Aria says that she just wanted to take another look at Rhonda's sketchbook and that one of the nurses told her that she kept it under her bed. Rhonda says that she can forget that Aria was in there, but that it's going to cost Aria. Hannah comes home to find Allie already over at her house talking to her mom. So Allie has decided to go behind Hannah's back and just straight up ask Ashley Marin if she can stay. Manipulative. Ugh. I think she knows that Hannah was lying about her mom being busy and that Hannah probably wasn't even going to ask. So she just went around it and got what she wanted anyways. Allie is telling Ashley Marin all about what got her through her 2 years in captivity and how she kept thinking about her family. And the way she says family sounds really weird. She says it twice really close together. Something about it seems off. I'm not sure if I'm reading too much into this, but Ashley tells Allie to go upstairs and get some rest and to take a nice hot bath while she and Hannah finish dinner. Ashley gives Allie some of her bath salts to use. Once Allie is upstairs and out of earshot, Ashley Marin says to Hannah, that girl has no support system at all. I used to think that Allie was too tough for her own good, but thank God. Thank God she is. Otherwise, I don't think she would have been able to survive. Clearly, Ashley Marin is eating a big bowl of Allison De Laurentiis bullshit. Hannah's not having any of that, so she says that she's not staying for dinner anymore. And she says to her mom before she leaves that she's asked her to use those bath salts like a million times. Granted, at this point, Ashley Marin is like, well, Hannah, you weren't kidnapped and kept in a box for 2 years. But then again, neither was Allie. Turns out what Rhonda's silence would cost Aria was a can of root beer and some cheese puffs. I think Rhonda might be a girl after Hannah Marin's own heart. Rhonda asks Aria if Bethany was afraid of her, and Aria says that she never met Bethany. Rhonda says to Aria that everyone thinks about trying to run away from Radley, and that there are a lot of people at Radley who had it way worse than Bethany did. Rhonda says that a rich lady with a big beige purse would come in to sign Bethany out to take her to the circus. This rich lady gave Bethany a lot of gifts, including a horse named Custard, adopted from a stable up near Lewisburg. Aria asks Rhonda if she remembers the name of the woman, if her name was Mrs. De Laurentiis, and Rhonda says something like that. This is not a confirmation, I don't think, that it was 100% Mrs. De Laurentiis, because as we know, people can come into Radley and say their name is something else all the time because apparently they don't check photo IDs there. I was looking around on the internet to see if I could find any pictures of Jessica De Laurentiis carrying a big beige purse, and I kept coming up empty. Luckily, Analyzing A gave me a helping hand. In season 4, episode 15, Jessica De Laurentiis is seen carrying a cognac-colored purse, and in season 4, episode 22, she's seen carrying a black one. We don't ever see her with a beige purse, so we can't specifically pinpoint 100% that it's her. Mrs. De Laurentiis definitely could have a beige purse. She looks rich, and it wouldn't surprise me that she was coming to Radley to check out Bethany. Someone also mentioned that perhaps this rich lady with the beige purse could have been Diane Fitzgerald. I think that would be super interesting, but I would have no idea why she was in there saying that she was Jessica De Laurentiis, but it is totally possible. Hannah meets up with Caleb and they're drinking some whiskey, and Hannah says that she is hungry, so she goes by the brew to try and get a tuna melt. Zach says that he's closing up early for the night to get ready for his engagement party with Ella, but then he offers to make her a sandwich to go. Okay, so maybe he's, just being nice. Hannah is one of Aria's friends. Emily gets a text from Aria that says, "Big Rhonda spilled big beans, call me." Right when she's reading this text, Sydney comes into her room all creepy. How does Sydney know where Emily lives? I mean, it's a small town, so I guess she probably could have just asked around, but that seemed a little strange to me. Sydney has come by to drop off a sweatshirt that came to her house for Emily. It's a blue sweatshirt that says, "Emily Fields, assistant coach of the Rosewood Sharks." It's interesting that Sydney was ordering hoodies. I wonder if she's ever ordered some black hoodies before. Sydney says, "I guess I should have waited for an answer before I pulled the trigger." Girl, you better watch what you're saying. You can't go around talking about pulling triggers when somebody got shot on a roof couple episodes ago. Emily says, "You won't take no for an answer, will you?" Sydney says that even though Emily isn't coaching her privately anymore, she just kind of wanted to make sure that Emily was still going to be in the stands. Sydney goes on to say that it's because she doesn't have anyone else in the stands cheering her on. Her mom doesn't really care about swimming. She has a boyfriend, but he's in college, so he can't come. Wonder who that college boyfriend is. And she says that her dad is traveling a lot because he's opening up all these yogurt shops. She starts to say that Emily might have seen one when she was in New York. Emily interrupts her and is like, "When have I ever been to New York?" Sydney looks all flustered and is like, "Oh, my mind is just mush, head under the water for too long." I'm wondering if the fact that there are yogurt places of Sydney's dad's in New York, if that means that they've got an apartment there, something that she would have had access to. Zach tells Hannah that he can smell her from here, asks what she was drinking, and Hannah says that it was whiskey, and he's like, "Oh, so you're a bad girl." Always had a thing thing for the bad girls. You don't have a thing for high school bad girls, you 30-year-old creepster face. Don't even. Zach says that this is probably the time when he's supposed to lecture Hannah, but I can keep a secret, can you? And puts his hand on Hannah's back for way too long, and it is like super freaking creepy. And if I were Hannah, I would have been like, don't touch me. You always have the right to tell someone if you don't want them to touch you. I just don't get what it is with all these grown-ass men in Rosewood having things for high school girls. Like, is there something in the water? Ren and Ezra have been older, but I feel like Zach is a new level of creepy. He's obviously gotta be in his 30s, whereas like Ezra and Ren were in their mid-20s. A lot of people have been saying on the internet, well, everyone doesn't have a problem with Ezra and Ren. I think this is a little different. This would be like if Byron Montgomery was interested in Allison De Laurentiis. It's like that level of creepy. Zach's creepiness is making me totally question him now. I'm wondering how long Zach has owned the brew for. The first time that we saw Zach behind the counter at the brew was the day that Ella was going on her first date since being with Byron. Coincidence? I think not. Plus, he got Ella out of the country. Arya obviously wanted her to go after the bee attack, but what if the bee attack was something that happened before the offer to go to Europe? He knew that if that happened to her mom, Arya would be like, oh no, you need to go. Also, think about how many things he could have overheard while he was at the brew, if he's got cameras there or anything. Like, he probably does, because he probably has a security system. The Halloween train was sponsored by the brew. Jenna had her birthday party at the brew. He could have overheard numerous conversations that the girls have had there. He could have seen Ezra and Arya there. And he could have even overheard Ella talking about how she was getting back into the dating scene and just made himself available. We have no idea how long he's been there. Moral of this story is that we can't trust anyone in Rosewood ever. One of the nurses comes into Rhonda's room and finds her drinking the soda and eating the cheese puffs and yells at Arya, saying that she can't give soda to a diabetic. Arya totally blew off her bridal shop appointment. Ella is pissed and thinks that it's Arya being passive-aggressive about not wanting her to get married. Maybe this is a sign that things aren't going the way they're supposed to, and maybe you should slow down. Enjoy your engagement for like a couple more months or years or whatever. Hannah misses class and comes into school with a crispy treat stuck in her hair. It's gotta be one of like the best Hannah Marin moments to date. It looked like vomit at first and I was concerned, and then Hannah's like, oh, it's a crispy treat. Like, she knows it's a damn crispy treat. Hannah decides to tell Spencer and Emily about Zach coming onto her, and they totally don't believe her. They're like, are you sure you didn't misinterpret it? I mean, were you buzzed? There's the problem, because if Hannah goes to tell anyone about it, it's going to be Zach's word against hers, and Zach is an adult and Hannah was an underage drinking teenager. Who are they gonna believe? Probably Zach, unfortunately. Ashley Marin goes into Hannah's room looking for her because the school called, and she finds Allison sitting there in front of the window. Ashley's like, Allison, why aren't you in school? And Allison says that she couldn't sleep last night because she heard someone outside the window trying to get in. That's a great story, Allison. From the looks of it, Allie slept in the closet last night. There's a blanket and a pillow and like this whole area set up. The way that Allie's looking at it, it does seem like she did actually sleep in there. If she didn't actually sleep in there, she is doing a bang-up job of acting the part of a traumatized kidnapping victim returned home. Here's the thing, while Allie is clearly lying right now, I think we all get that, I do think that there is a portion of truth to her lies. This kidnapping story that she's telling is a story that she's using to distract from what actually happened to her, because I think something did. What I'm curious about is what is so bad that telling a story about being kidnapped is easier for Allison than telling the truth. There is something holding Allison back from being able to tell the truth, and I'm not sure if it's because there's a member of her family involved, if it's a member of the community that is involved, but it seems like she is keeping something under wraps because she is legitimately legitimately afraid that if she tells the truth, things aren't going to get better for her. It's gotta be pretty bad if she thinks that she can't go to the police, which further supports my idea that there is someone in the police working for the A-team, and I think that Allison knows that. Spencer and Emily go to the stable outside of Lewisburg that Mrs. De Laurentiis theoretically used to take Bethany to. They encounter a horseback riding teacher named Declan. Declan says that he doesn't work with beginners. In theory, if he ever did work with Bethany and Mrs. De Laurentiis, then that would mean that Bethany wasn't a beginning horseback rider. This would make sense though, because why would Mrs. De Laurentiis or whoever this rich lady was take Bethany to a stable to ride horses and then adopt her own horse if Bethany hadn't previously had some kind of riding experience? Declan says that he remembers a lady who came up there with a strange girl who wanted to ride the horses in her slippers. Yep, that sounds like Radley Patient to me. Declan says that after the bucket incident, he doesn't think he ever saw them up there again. The woman told the girl in slippers that she wanted her to call her Aunt Jessie, and then the girl threw a bucket at the woman. If that was Jessica De Laurentiis, why is she having Bethany call her Aunt Jessie, and why is Bethany so upset about having to call her that? That would suggest to me that Jessica De Laurentiis is probably not Bethany Young's actual aunt. She could potentially be her mother. If my mother were telling me that I had to call her my aunt out in public and that I couldn't call her my mother, I think I would probably throw a fit about that too. Or it could be that Jessica De Laurentiis is not related to Bethany at all, and she was just having her call her her aunt so that it didn't look weird that she was taking her there. Or this could, I guess, be a hint that Mrs. De Laurentiis was the one with the twin sister. If she was, and Bethany was her twin sister's daughter, that could explain some things, I guess. Hannah is sitting in her car eating, and Zach gets in. Ugh, lock the doors. What is it with these girls and everyone in Rosewood not knowing how to lock their doors? At the beginning, I would have understood. It's a small town, nothing bad has happened. But after the slew of murders that have happened there and people disappearing and coming back from the grave, don't you think that they could at least all lock the doors? It's so easy. You get into the car and you first thing, lock the door. Also, Zach, you ought to know better than to get into a teenage girl's car. That's freaking weird. Don't do that. Zach says to Hannah he wasn't sure if she was feeling the same vibe as he was, but he thinks she kind of was. So he takes out a piece of paper and a pen and writes down his number. Ugh, I'm gonna vomit. Like, ugh. You are back in town for your engagement party, sir. Keep it zipped. Then he puts his hand on Hannah's knee and is like, hit me up, and then gets out of the car. And Hannah tears up the paper with his number on it. I get why she did that and why she's angry, but what she should have done is held onto that for evidence, because then it's clearly in his handwriting. Even if he's like, oh, well, she asked me for that, or oh, I was offering to help her because she clearly has a drinking problem. At least keep the evidence. I also don't understand why, again, Hannah didn't take that opportunity when he's like, I'm not sure if you were feeling the same vibe as I was, to be like, hell no, I was not feeling that vibe. You were about to get married to one of my best friend's moms. Stop. Get out of my car before I call the police. I think it's probably because Hannah is the one with the lowest self-esteem, and so she doesn't know how to stand up for herself, but gotta get better at that, girl. Gotta speak up. The lights are all out at the Marin household, and there is someone inside with a knife. Ashley Marin is obviously freaking out, and when Allison comes downstairs, she asks for her phone. Finally, someone decides to call 911. It only took us about 103 episodes to get there, but we're making progress. The hooded figure leaves through the back door of the Marin house. Interestingly enough, the knife that the hooded figure was carrying looks like the exact same knife that Allie was holding when she and Noel played that prank on the girls on Halloween, and like the same knife that she stabbed into the pumpkin when she was telling that scary story to the boy that Hannah was babysitting. The police arrive at the Marin household, and Lieutenant Tanner is obviously there asking questions. Ashley Marin says that the shadow seemed like a man's, that it was big, definitely didn't seem like a woman. Lieutenant Tanner keeps pressing Allie for details, trying to trip her up on her story, and Ashley Marin gets really angry and is like, why are you questioning the victim like she's a suspect? You guys need to get out there and get that psycho before he strikes again. Hannah comes over to Aria's house to tell her about Zach. I think that this is good that Hannah is going over there and just nipping it in the bud before any of them get a text message with a picture of Hannah and Zach in Hannah's car or something insane like that. I think that Hannah definitely could have worded it better, but I'm just glad that she is coming and telling Aria the truth. Unfortunately, Aria totally doesn't believe her. Surprise, surprise. Aria yells at Hannah that she's the problem. She's always the problem. I don't think that's super fair. One could argue that you being involved with your teacher was a problem, especially when he showed up in New York randomly and got shot, and then all of a sudden you guys had to cover that up. And remember when he was stalking you all and writing a book about you and you were dating him and feeding him information unbeknownst to you? You've been the problem some of the time, Aria. Spencer and Emily keep investigating around the stable and they find Melissa's riding helmet there. Why is that there? It could have been that A just placed it up there trying to make Melissa look sketchy, or Melissa has already been up there looking for some answers herself. Melissa's a smart cookie. It would not surprise me if she was up there taking lessons just trying to get close to Declan or someone else up there. I'm sure that Melissa didn't come in instantly asking questions about Jessica De Laurentiis. She probably took a few lessons before she got into that conversation. Let the people trust her a little bit. Someone in a black hood and black leather gloves locks Emily and Spencer inside of the pen next to a horse. Because there is a storm outside, the horse is going crazy and bucking. Spencer gets kicked in the eye by the horse. I was super scared that because she got hit in the eye that like she was gonna be missing an eye. We were gonna get glass eye Spencer Hastings or eye patch Spencer Hastings or something here. It's interesting because whoever trapped Spencer and Emily in the pen obviously cannot have been at the Marin house at the same time. Toby comes over to see Spencer and says he is tired of feeling powerless when all of these A attacks happen. It totally makes sense to me why Toby would want to become a police officer. After what happened to his mom, what's been happening to his girlfriend and his friends, there's so much incompetence that it's gotta be making him sick. Spencer says to Toby, if you becoming a cop is going to put a stop to all this, I say go. Study hard, graduate early. It's getting so much worse. And it really is. This is definitely the darkest season thus far. Actual concrete violence has been happening now, and it seems like maybe not a different A, but definitely a more evolved and more angry A. Ella and Zach are trying to make tissue paper flowers, and it is just so gross to see Ella and Zach kissing now. At first I was like, oh yay, Ella found someone and he's super cute. But now I just question everything that he's been doing. He points out that Aria is really great at this, and he's like, oh, is your son great at this too? Ella says no, that's why he's hiding upstairs. I would like to point out here that I think it's very strange that Zach has not put the same level of effort into trying to get to know Mike as he has into getting to know Aria. Especially when Ella came back to town and said that Zach wanted to know what Aria thought of him proposing. We didn't hear him talk to Mike about any of that. Not to be like super traditional or anything, but if he's going to want to know how one kid felt about it, you would think that he would want to know how the other kid felt about it as well. This makes me like super creeped out that maybe part of his motive for being interested in Ella was the fact that she has a teenage daughter. I really hope that that's not what's going on here, because that would be so dark, but at the same time, those people exist and that stuff happens, and I think that that's partially what this show is about, that there is darkness in the world and in people, oftentimes in the people that we least expect, the ones who are hiding in plain sight. Zach and Ella rented a movie that Aria supposedly said she wanted to see, and Aria says that she's just gonna go to bed. Ella and Zach seem kind of put off by that, so Aria agrees to watch it. She sits down on the couch, and Zach sits next to Aria instead of Ella. Now, Aria did sit in the middle of the couch, but like, Aria, sit to one side and let them sit next to each other, because it's just gross. Spencer says to Allie and Emily that this A seems so different from the A that was just leaving nasty notes in their locker. Now they're attacking their parents, and when is this gonna stop? Allison admits to Spencer and Emily that she asked Noel to break into Hannah's house. Why, you ask? Allison says it's because she needed someone who mattered, someone like Hannah's mom, to stop questioning my story. Spencer seems really taken aback and is like, why would you do that? And Allie replies, well, it worked, didn't it? This could potentially support my theory that the person who attacked Allison in her house could have also been a setup. If in this situation she was using Noel breaking into the house to get Ashley Marin on her side, then it's not out of the question that she would have asked someone to come to her house to, at the very least, give her bruises. Theoretically, the person that Allie could have been trying to get on her side in the situation where she was attacked in her house was Hannah. Because remember, Hannah was supposed to come and pick Allison up and drive her to the train station. Instead, Emily ends up showing up. That attack ended up getting Emily back on Allison's side. And if no one had been at the house, Allie still would have had the bruises on her neck. Come to the girls after the fact and be like, no one was there for me. I have bruises all over my neck. I just barely escaped. It also explains why Allie was so adamant about not calling the cops when Emily saved her from the person in the black hood. She couldn't exactly tell Ashley Marin not to call the cops this time. She knew that the cops would have to show up. Maybe that's what she wanted this whole time. It's interesting though, because Allie has a look on her face after she says this to Emily and Spencer and she turns away. I'm not sure if it's because she was lying about it being Noel in there, if she was lying about it being a setup, or if there's something else that's going on, but she definitely has a look. At the end of the episode, we see another A cutscene. A is inside a room that has pictures of Spencer and Allison, some riding equipment, and a girl in her riding uniform riding a horse. It could be Spencer or Melissa, or I guess it could be Bethany. Like I was saying earlier, it wouldn't surprise me if Bethany had some experience riding horses prior to her time in Radley, because why else would Jessica De Laurentiis have taken her out to ride horses unless she already had an interest in them? A lifts up the cushion of the red leather couch. Inside there seems to be a hidden compartment, like a wooden box. It looks too small to be like a holding chamber. I don't think Maya's down there or anything like that, but there's definitely something hidden in there. I feel like the red leather armchair that Spencer has in her room at home looks kind of similar to this, as if potentially it could have been from the same collection, so maybe it's Melissa's? I don't know what it means, but I want to know what's in that box. Let me know down in the comments what you thought of this week's episode, and if you have any theories or questions, I would love to discuss them with you. If you don't already, you can follow me on Twitter, Tumblr, Blogspot, and Instagram, username CandidCrandell. You can also chat with me live on Beamly every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific during new Pretty Little Liars episodes, link down in the description. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you again on Thursday. Bye!